Hi, Brandon. How are you?
Sounds like your kids are having a good time in the background.
Hopefully, they'll get a little bit more quiet. Yes. Bedtime, bath time.
There's a meeting going on once a month. All I ask is once a month.
Sounds about sounds about right.
Yep, it sure does.
Very nice, by the way. I saw your email and back and forth with Brandon.
Tender, yeah.
Regarding.
He asked for it the last meeting, so I had to wait until it was official that you signed it and it was sent in. In my opinion, it's not an official position until that happens. Correct?
You are correct.
Okay.
I mean, it's official that we voted on it, but in terms of like an actual document, you're right.
Yeah, I think it'd be bad form if other people receive it before the council members receive it. They should be the first ones.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. Let's see here. Tonight should be a
fun one.
A fun one. Well, hopefully, hopefully it doesn't go too long.
Yeah, I guess mentioning in advance to the stakeholders that there was a Zoom problem. That's why I'm presenting to Government Affairs and Scott is presenting to.
Yeah, I plan on including that, and actually, you'll notice the very last motion item. Of course, God bless the city. They want to pass the cost of the Zoom licenses to each individual neighborhood council.
I'm not against that. We have full control over.
I mean, I'm not either. I mean, because then we can buy. That's why I said, well, let's buy 2 licenses. So if we want to run concurrent meetings, we don't have an issue.
Yeah. Is that just a meeting or is that a webinar? $200 sounds a little light. Is there?
That's the license. That's a license. I mean, look, the city negotiated probably for a huge license.
Oh, okay.
It's just internally, the city is shifting who's what piggy bank it's coming out of the city. You know what I mean?
Got it.
But
I see. Okay, it's still going through the city, but we're footing the bill.
It's just coming out of our budget, not the department.
Okay. So they're getting like a fleet price or something like that.
Exactly. There's a government. There's pricing for municipalities.
Sounds good to me.
It's a great business. Oh, let's try that again. Promote to panelist. And while you're at it, let me. I tried to promote him. Let me make you a co-host, Brandon.
Okie doke.
And then, we're recording. So it is now 7:03, Wednesday, May 18th, calling this meeting to order of the Sioux City Neighborhood Council. Those watching on Facebook Live, welcome. And if we can please call the roll.
Hey, let me just promote Alexa here. Okay. Kim Clements.
Here.
Dean Cutler.
Here.
Randall Freed.
Here.
Ira Gold.
Here.
Jeff Hartwick.
Here.
JJ Hoffman.
Here.
Julie, I think, said she'll come a little later, correct, if she can? I think it's Lisa Karagian. Was she promoted?
I promoted her, but it didn't stick.
Well, I'll list her as here because I see her. Well, you know what? I'll skip her and I'll come back to her. Laura Corian. Absent. Scott Mandel.
Present.
Brandon Marino here. Richard Niederberg.
Here.
There you are. Karen Sorrow.
Here.
Adam Summer.
I'm here. And I'll also tell you, I am going to be switching from my iPad to my laptop in a bit. So just be ready to let me in, please.
Okay.
That's all.
Alexa Steinberg.
Here.
Abigail Velasco.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. Thank you very much. Without objection, approval of the April minutes. Hearing, seeing none. Approved. Agenda item number 3, President's comments. First and foremost to the board, a note from our hardworking treasurer, Kim, to make any funding requests for the upcoming fiscal year as we are approaching the end of the fiscal year. And if you can submit those to her at your earliest convenience, that way Kim can allocate more accurately for our 22-23 fiscal year budget, that all things being hopeful, we can vote on that and get that filed in a timely fashion at our June meeting. Also a reminder that in June, our board will be electing new officers. And so please, if you're not an officer and you want to be an officer, that'll be your time. We of course encourage the public to be present and to chime in on their opinions. Also want to, I had a third item, but let me see, it has escaped me. Okay, so we'll just move right along. That's all I have for now. And we'll move to agenda item 4, public comment on non-agenda items within the neighborhood council's jurisdiction. 1 minute per speaker. Please raise your hand if you have a comment on a non-agenda item within our jurisdiction. If you're dialing in from a phone, I believe it is *9 to raise your hand. Is that correct, Brandon? *9?
The *9 and *6 to unmute. I believe that's
correct. I think you're correct. So, public comment on non-agenda items is now open. You'll have 1 minute to speak once you start speaking. Ira, you ready to go? Okay, go ahead, Patty Kirby.
Hello, everybody, and thank you all. I see all your beautiful faces on the video, and I hope you'll stay on as video and not go dark. That's one thing. The other thing is, I just wanted to see if the neighborhood council and other committees would also be commenting on all of the 11 developmental projects, even if it's just an update every month. And then the other is an announcement about the Studio City pop-up emergency drill on Saturday, this Saturday, the 21st at 9 o'clock. I sent out some flyers. I'm hoping you all got it. Thank you.
Brandy, I don't have the ability to mute and unmute
Okay.
in my current setting.
Oh, let's fix that. Seeing no other hands for public comment on non-agenda items, we will close public comment on non-agenda items. Moving right along to agenda item number 5, announcement by government representatives. We have a handful here, so starting in no particular order, on behalf of LA County Board of Supervisor Catherine Barger, Jason Maruka, please. Jason.
Sorry about that. Let me just trying to get my roommates, aka my kids, fed in between. So show them a couple things here. Thank you all for having me on. A couple updates from the board. On Tuesday, May 3rd, the Board of Supervisors approved Supervisor Barger and Supervisor Solis's motion to implement the Blue Ribbon Commission on Homelessness's recommendations. Just a quick reset on that. This was something that was passed back in July of last year, and it set off a 6-month review by the commission to look how our homeless services work together. The commission engaged with a broad spectrum of stakeholders, service providers, all 88 cities, persons experiencing homelessness. So the supervisor feels that it was a really collaborative and engaging process to make sure that we understood the depth of our program. Right before the board voted on this, the County Department of Public Health released their 3rd annual report on mortality rates of the homeless. The report found that 1,988 people experiencing homelessness died in a single year. That's a 56% increase compared to the year prior. You know, that's a heart-wrenching statistic and it's completely unacceptable. It's really a painful reminder that we must change what we're doing or not doing now, and provide support and help to our most vulnerable. And that's why the supervisor looks at this motion as a call to action that we need to have clearer lines of responsibility. Specifically, you know, there were a number of recommendations. I'll just talk about three main ones that kind of encapsulate the changes that we're looking to do. First, bringing LASA back to its pre-Measure H role, and transition it out of the direct service provider role. You know, LASA would go back to kind of focusing on administrative functions such as the homeless count and getting federal funding opportunities for state and local priorities. Next, creating a local solutions funds through Measure H, which we can utilize and partner with our cities that are ready to implement their own homeless and service plans. And then finally, create a county department that would help people by coordinating and unifying the various county departments that touch homelessness. So for instance, the Department of Mental Health, Health Services, Public Health, and Social Services. And again, this department would be answerable to the board, again, which is important for those clear lines of responsibility. In closing, you know, the supervisor feels strongly that we need one point of responsibility. Our current systems and structures don't have clear lines of responsibility and accountability. She feels these recommendations are a pathway to that. So that's what we were doing around the homeless recommendations. And then one other quick announcement: every year the supervisor holds a tribute to veterans and military families. This will be held on May 28th at Arcadia County Park from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Admission parking is free. I believe I'd sent over the flyer to Randy, so if you guys could pass that around, or anyone who wants to attend, we'd love to have you. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Next, Tiffany Zatunian from Council District 2. Councilmember Paul Kokorian.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm in a little bit of a dead zone here. I first wanted to give an update. Our office is having a senior scam stopper event on June 23rd at the Bernardi Senior Center from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. You can RSVP by calling their main office or by emailing our office, and we'll go ahead and coordinate that for you. But it will be at the Bernardi Senior Center, June 23rd, Thursday from 10:30 to 11:30. I also wanted to highlight that I'm not sure if Officer Sean Smith is on here or if any of the senior lead officers are here, but I did want to highlight that LAPD North Hollywood Division will be holding a catalytic converter etching community event at the Church of Scientology parking lot at 11452 Burbank Boulevard, May 21st from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It is preferable for people to schedule an appointment, so you can call at 818-754-8443. Lastly, as you all know, the council member is the chair of the budget committee, and we're still finalizing some of the things for the budget, but I did want to go over some of the highlights that were introduced during council. The first is there is $1.163 billion towards the homeless response budget, including over $600 million in new housing and shelter interventions. Permanent expansion of Care and Care Plus that started in 2021-2022's fiscal cycles to help keep our streets safe and clean. Increases in Bureau of Street Lighting's budget in order to tackle copper wire theft. That includes hardscaping and then changing the types of wires to ensure that they're not stolen as frequently because they won't be as costly like aluminum wire. Maximize police hiring with funding and academy class capacity for 780 new police officers, and grow in the fire department by hiring an additional 208 firefighters. There are additional highlights I did want to mention, like the Climate Equity Fund, the Youth Jobs Initiative, Building Jobs Pilot Program, and amongst others. I'm happy to go into further details if anyone wants to reach out to me directly. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Tiffany. We also have George from Council District 4, Council Member Nikki Raman's office. Hi, George.
Hey, Randy, so good to see you again. It's been a while, but yeah, George with Council District 4 here. As Tiffany alluded to, the budget season is coming to a close, and our office published a post on medium.com that you can access via Twitter. If not, I can send you the link if you send me an email. But again, just wanted to highlight some of the big wins that our office was able to achieve through this budget season is having to fund and streamline affordable housing, be able to fund active transportation for engineers, for planners, to include more transportation projects around the city, to include bike lanes and new pedestrian infrastructures. On another note, our office also requested over $4 million from our federal partners to help fund the Studio City Rec Center. I know this has been in still waters for some years, and hopefully we're able to revive this project. So we're incredibly grateful and thankful for Representative Sherman and his office for being so receptive to our request. I won't get into how the sausage is made back in Congress, but you know, we'll have to wait to see how it gets passed through through leadership and through all that sludge. So regarding the River Greenway, excuse me, we're reigniting conversations again with our state and federal partners to help find money they could help to provide to fully fund this project. And we're so excited to get this money, at least, you know, have offices that are so receptive in us asking and requesting. In terms of transportation, our office has fabricated some drive slow signs to remind motorists to respect the rules of the road. And if you want us to share with you, I don't have a physical copy on me right now, but if you want me to send that over, happy to drive personally to you and hand deliver them. Some land use planning update. The Southeast Valley Community Plan Update team is hosting a Ventura Cahuenga land use webinar in June to share their draft land use concepts for the Ventura Cahuenga Boulevard and Sherman Oaks, Studio City, and Cahuenga Pass neighborhoods. For more information, please visit planning4la.org/Southeast Valley plans or email planning.southeastvalley@lacity.org. And I won't take too much of your time. One last thing is just wanted to share how active we've been, our office, Councilmember Rahman. We attended the Studio City Resident Association earlier this week to honor our very own Luis Oliart, who I don't know is present, but either way, huge congrats for helping, you know, the unhoused neighbors in our neighborhood. Incredibly thankful. We also attended the North Hollywood Interfaith Food Pantry on Monday to meet and discuss their needs and how we can better support their mission in providing resources to folks who are facing food insecurities. And also, last month, we attended Carpenter School Family Picnic, where we honored Principal Martinez for all his work in the community. If your child or goes to Carpenter, make sure to check out his certificate that we got for him. And then just overall, if you're a parent of someone who goes to a school in Studio City, we want to do a backpack giveaway. So if you think the school can best benefit from a backpack giveaway, please shoot me an email, George, spelled George.Placencia@lacity.org. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much, George. Appreciate that. And we are also joined by Elisa Schwartz, I believe, from Council Member Nazarian's office. Welcome.
Yes, hi, everybody. Rather than, I'm going to do an introduction of myself since I'm new to the Studio City Neighborhood Council. I had emailed a couple of folks just to introduce myself, but I do want to say that it's great to be a part of this neighborhood council. I have been working with the Assembly Member Nazarian's office since August of 2021. I stepped into that office working on the very challenging situation that was the unemployment. Titanic as it hit the iceberg, as I call it, just brass tacks. And then I was brought on full time to work with Assembly Member Nazarian in December. I have to say the first place I lived in the Valley was in Studio City. I lived on Gurin Street in an amazing little 1-bedroom bungalow. And unfortunately, it didn't survive the building boom pre-2008. And now I live in Valley Village. But I had a wonderful, great 2 years, right almost at CBS Radford Studio in Studio City. So I loved my first living experience here in the Valley, and I love living in the Valley. I do want to say, as far as our office is concerned, just in a very general way, we are doing everything we can to move every emergency rental assistance application forward, ERAP. Please do contact our office if anybody has any questions and concerns. Please do contact our office if you have any questions regarding unemployment and or disability, which are all covered under EDD. Any state issues you have, anything with the DMV, everything that regards the state, you would reach out to us at our office. We do have another new coworker. Her name is Lily Serafian. So we have great folks in the office doing all of our best to help everybody. And obviously, the major issue regarding our unhoused folks is on Caltrans property, and there are systems in place to do everything we can to work with our city partners on all of the housing, on all of the issues that regard the unhoused on Caltrans property to try and help get them housed, clean up those areas once the folks are taken care of, and do our best to work with that very challenging situation. So I'm glad to be here. I will sign off from here, and I can't wait to help everybody and be a part of this neighborhood council. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Elisa. We have public comment for all of our government officials regarding this agenda item. Fear for mayor. Go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Yeah. Yes, of course. It's so good when people recognize the intelligence of a sentient animal as myself. Yes, and Mike Pure, as I predicted everybody, he went in the garbage pail. So on December 1st, he will no longer be a government official. It will make it easier for the FBI to escort him over to the Phoenix, Arizona Federal Court, where he's going to be given testimony, I hear. Oh, tell me more. Sorry, I only have 1 minute. And then we have Catherine Barger. Catherine, help Goat Puppet with his little problem. He's called you 18 times. We need a trailer removed. Jason, have Catherine reach out and help me, please. I'm such a nice little animal. She used to like me.
And that's time. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other government representatives, moving right along to agenda item number 6, a motion that I'm bringing forward. The motion is the board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council votes to remove Laura Kararian from the board due to excessive unexcused absences per the operating procedures, section 4, absences A. A board member who incurs an unexcused absence at 2 regularly scheduled consecutive board meetings or optionally 3 total board meetings during any 12-month period may be removed by the action of the board. So this is, I'm bringing it forward. Is there a second by chance?
I will.
Seconded by Kim. So now we'll take public comment on agenda item 6. If there is any public comment, please raise your hand. Fear for mayor, go ahead. We have 1 minute.
Yes, and Goat Puppet went over the archives. Brandon, sweet, you were so proud of this nominee. But Brandon could have told you, Ira, everybody, that she didn't want to hang around with us losers. No, she's busy with other things, yes. But there's a secret about this nominee. And Scott might know. So Lisa knows. Where's the goblet with the wine? Let's everybody drink up. It's going to be a heartfelt meeting. And again, I think she should be given one more chance. Can't you do it, Randy? Can't you give her one more chance? Or is it like your father used to do? He threw your ass out of the house and moved to Texas and didn't give you another chance. You broke his heart. You should have been with him. Can't we give this nice lady a chance to be with us? To be her family.
And that's time. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands, open this for board comment, or if there's any board questions.
I'm just wondering what
Okay.
the impetus.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm wondering what the impetus for this is. Is it just a general?
What do you mean? She has not been present at any board meetings. She's not been present at any committee meetings.
Have you had a
I sent
conversation?
I have sent her emails to both her personal email and her SCNC email, which she's not responded to. She has not completed her ethics. She hasn't even completed all of her training. She did show up at some meetings at the latter part of last year. And, you know, our board, there are a number of board members who work very hard for community benefit. And there are others in the community that are interested in supporting the activities of the SCNC. And so I don't see why we should have someone on our board in name only who clearly kind of has already broken up with us. We're just catching up to acknowledge the fact that they've broken up with us. Abby?
Is she present?
She is not, I don't believe. Not that I see.
Does she receive the agenda?
She does from her SCNC email and her personal email. As I said, so I emailed her previous to this meeting to ask to see what's going on, hope she's okay, etc. And I received no response.
Has she responded to the email, the agenda? If she read it, she should have known, being aware that she's being perhaps being removed or that is on the table.
I mean, the email went out to both her personal email and her SCNC email. I have no reason to believe that she didn't receive it. It didn't bounce back, but it's not my place to speculate as to why she chose not to respond.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Of course, any other board comments? Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, this is along the lines of what you just said. It would be nice if all board members check their emails at least twice a week, just in case. I'm sure that, you know, you miss one email or two emails or three emails because you don't check your emails and suddenly, you know, you're on an agenda. But yeah, I agree with what you say. I have nothing against Laura, but yeah, she just doesn't attend meetings, and I don't even think she's part of any committee from what I understand, and that's in the bylaws. So it's unfortunate, but you know, it opens a spot for somebody who does want to attend all of our meetings and does want to be involved. So I hate to see her go, but I barely know her, so it is what it is.
And just to be clear, and Adam Summer can attest to this, in a previous year, Adam was very busy because, as I said in my email to Laura, and I've said in the past to others, life happens and sometimes we get too busy. During the pandemic, and things got a little busy during a previous iteration of this board. Now, I agendized the removal of Adam, or at least the possibility for the board to discuss it. The board discussed it. Adam discussed it with the board, and we agreed at that time. The board said, Adam, it's up to you what you want to do. And Adam said, hey, I'm here. I'm in it. I want to be involved. And here he is, and he is involved. So I wouldn't, so this certainly isn't the first time that I have, if as president, that someone has not been involved, that I've put it on the agenda. Kim?
And mine was the first 2 months of COVID. So there was some other issues too, but she's been gone quite a while.
Right. Kim?
I just wanted to say, I mean, it's not that she could have possibly missed your email or anything. She didn't show up to meetings for 3 months. Nobody's heard from her in 3 months' time. So that's the bigger picture here. Not that she might have missed being on the agenda or whatnot. No word in 3 months is something else. I do hope she is well, but this is where we are now. Thank you.
Thanks. If there's not anything else, I'll bring this to a vote. And again, it requires 2/3 for it to actually remove her.
Are you ready? Kim Clements.
Call the roll.
Yes.
Dean Cutler. Dean?
Sorry, yes.
Randall Freed.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie is still absent. Lisa Karajian.
Yes.
Laura is absent. Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Marino, yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer,
Yes.
Alexa Steinberg,
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yeah, it's on Facebook.
What's on Facebook?
This is.
Abigail?
Yes.
Also, somebody, we're getting feedback from somebody, so just make sure everyone's muted. Passes, by the way.
Great, thank you very much. So it'll be on the agenda formally, but we have a opening for the board. So the way this works in terms of people coming to the board, I'll take the moment to say it's unfortunate that people come up with some very creative stories about the board and how people get on the board, but board appointments work by someone submitting an email to bmarino@studiocitync.org. So not me. Goes to Brandon. Brandon then passes that letter of intent to any member, to all of the board. And then once properly agendized that there's a vacancy at the following meeting after that, we would then, as a board, review those letters of intent. Yes, it's true as president, I would perhaps choose one as an appointed, but the way it works is the board gets to vote to approve whoever is placed, appointed to that board seat, and whoever receives a majority vote of the board is placed in that seat. So this is not some creative fiction where I get to decide, be a kingmaker. This is a joint decision of the board. With that, we wish Laura Karian the best that life has to offer and wherever life takes her. Moving on to agenda item number 7. Discussion and possible motion. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports the submission of the draft ad hoc committee report in regard to the Harvard Westlake River project, case number ENB-2020-1512-EIR to the City of Los Angeles Department of Planning. I want to thank Chip Meehan, who was an ad hoc committee chair. For those that may recall, the last meeting I formed an ad hoc committee meeting to at least attempt to chip away at a huge, to say the least, 6,000 page plus DEIR. Chip Meehan happily took on this monumental task, and I don't think this will all that it will be written on the subject. I also solicited the community, and I want to thank Peter Cole. I believe Melanie Winter was involved. Forgive me, I don't have all the names off the top of my head, so let me look at a list. Brandon Pender, Alex Black, Tony Knight, Jody Flagman, who offered their viewpoints and helped pen a report that is through that link you can see, that raises a number of questions stemming from what is or isn't in the DEIR. So thank you to all of them. It is my position we should submit our that is full of questions to the city, although the official deadline has passed. City planning has said they would accept this into the record. And then, of course, this is not the only bite of the apple. I know there's been some concern about process. Once the formal report comes, the full environmental impact report, what's currently out is a draft. Once the formal report comes out, there will be another public comment period, which my hope is an ad hoc committee. And the new board officers, or they will direct the board and or ad hoc to continue to look at the formal report, submit questions, and perhaps from that derive a position one way or the other as to supporting the project, not supporting the project, addressing additional questions to Harvard Westlake as the applicant of this project. And once that happens, the city makes a ruling. There will then again be another public comment here period. So this isn't our one and only bite at the apple. I know land use will agendize each step of the way as well for public comment. And as always, echoed by Lisa Garagian on land use, every step of the way we will encourage, not only will we amplify your voice, we hope that you will also take it upon yourself to reach out to city planning and send your comments and concerns directly to them, because that's what city planning will base their decisions off of. With that, is there a second on this motion? Yes or no? And then we can take public comment.
A second.
Thank you, Richard. Public comment from Patty Kirby. Go ahead. You have 1 minute.
So thank you for that. I would ask if the Studio City Neighborhood Council would consider writing.
Patty, you're breaking up. I don't know if it's just on my end, but
That
something dropped off.
That was a finger slip on my end. I apologize, Patty. We can unmute her and reset the clock. I apologize for that.
Here we go again. I wanted to ask the Studio City Neighborhood Council to request an RDEIR at this point, as there are so many questions in the current DEIR that are insufficient answers, insufficient information, inadequate information. And so RDEIR would be appropriate thing for the neighborhood council to ask now. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Ari, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just to clarify, I know when we had spoken about this agenda item, I had asked for just more than a minute, but less than 5. Am I held to 1 minute?
At this moment, yes.
Okay.
Do you, or why don't we do this? Why don't we have public comment? Let's take all the public comment now, and then we'll take your comment last.
Perfect. Thank you.
Terry Austin, go ahead.
Right off the top, I'd like to request whatever extra time might be given to Ari that I be brought in again with whatever balance of time it might be after 1 minute.
Sure.
Thank you. I think that I read the email prepared by, I think, Chip. I think, Randy, you gave a kind of impression like there was a lot of comprehensive study under this by the ad hoc. And from what I understand, the ad hoc committee never actually met, that one person was out of town for 2 weeks, and that this was primarily put together through some emails passed back and forth. And then the suggestion of another ad hoc committee be formed, I think is just wasting a lot of time. We did miss the May 10th deadline. I do understand that there was a 60-day window, and that's pretty tight for NCs. We don't know when public hearing will be, and to waste any more time, I think, is really inefficient. The DER, the only motion I think that should be considered tonight is that the present DER.
And that's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori Kahn, go ahead.
Thank you. I agree with what Patty Kirby had said about the DEIR being inadequate and insufficient in spite of its 6,000 pages. The alternative section is so inadequate, it's bogus. They're not comparable, realistic alternatives to their project. They list at-grade parking as an alternative to this gigantic development project. Reduced density and program, hardly a true alternative. No public use, public events, not an alternative to this project. So, and it also does not consider cumulative impacts of all the surrounding developments in close proximity on Ventura Boulevard, Sportsman's Lodge, 2 developments on Ventura between Whitsett and Coldwater, and Beeman Park. So please require a RDEIR. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fier for mayor, go ahead.
Yes, what a shame. Randy can't give 2 minutes per human. Yes, Scott would do it because he understands that you're running a public meeting, not an exorcism and fascism. So there's 3 things the report needs that you need for the building and project. First, you have to pay off the building inspectors. Check. You have to pay off the council member. Check. And finally, you have to donate to the office holder account. If you do those three things, people, you can build anything. I can build you a skyscraper in the middle of the 101 if I can get those three. You build it, we'll bring it. You'll bring it, we'll build it. Well, who said that? The great Jose Luis Huizar, one of the finest men who has ever served this city.
That's time. Thank you.
Adele Slaughter, go ahead.
Hi all, it's Adele. Good to see you. In terms of the DEIR, I mean, I actually have not been able to get through the whole thing, but it's quite repetitive, and they really give short shrift to a lot of issues: the trees, the synthetic turf, the amount of concrete, the amount of dirt they're going to excavate, how many truck trips there are. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I think that asking for a recirculated DEIR is not a bad thing to do. Certainly, they need to address some of these issues, because this is probably the single biggest development we've had in Studio City and will have in Studio City, given maybe the Sportsman's Lodge, but we're going to lose 209 significant trees there. We've lost 90 already. I'm a tree hugger, you know, right? We've lost 90 at the Sportsman's.
And that's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Cole, go ahead.
Hi. Yes, I was assigned to this ad hoc committee. No, we never met. But I think the bigger issue is this is a really big project, and I cannot believe that you, Randy, and you, Lisa Karajian, don't give enough. You just don't care enough to actually get involved. You should, Randy, you should have called for this ad hoc the second the DEIR came out. And Lisa threw you under the bus, Randy, in the meeting, that she knows nothing about the ad hoc, doesn't know who's the chair, doesn't know anything about it. I can go on and on, but you guys totally dropped the ball. Randy, you need to step up to the plate and do things in a timely fashion, and you need to remove Lisa as chair of land use. Thank you.
Thank you. Ira, let's do this. Please time the amount of time over 1 minute that Ari goes over, so we can then extend time to others. Ari, go ahead.
Thank you, Randy. I'll speed read. I appreciate the opportunity to briefly address the council, and thank you to the members of the council for your time and for your service. We appreciate the work that the Studio City Neighborhood Council and its ad hoc committee are doing to evaluate the Harvard-Westlake River Park DEIR. The draft letter produced by the ad hoc committee and under consideration this evening raises a number of thoughtful questions about the River Park project, with topics ranging from environmental impact to hours of operation to shared use. We expect that the city will formally address those questions in due course, as it will do with all of the comments that are submitted. As you know, Harvard-Westlake attended recent meetings of the Studio City Neighborhood Council's sustainability and land use committees. Those committees discussed the DEIR and submitted a number of questions directly to the school. Harvard-Westlake provided written answers to each of those questions, including DEIR page citations where appropriate. It appears that a number of the questions or concerns identified by the ad hoc committee in the draft letter before you are in fact addressed and answered by the DEIR itself. We know that the DEIR is quite long and dense. So over the coming weeks and months, if the ad hoc committee or the full council provides the school with a list of specific questions, we will be very happy to provide references to the places in the DEIR where those topics are addressed. We recognize, of course, that the DEIR does not address every single topic of interest to this council and to Studio City stakeholders, which is why Harvard-Westlake remains open to conversations with members of the community who wish to address their concerns directly with the school. From the beginning, we have made ourselves available for conversations with stakeholders, and we will continue to do so. Just give us a call. We'll be glad to meet for coffee and answer your questions. I would like to note that what the ad hoc committee's letter does not acknowledge are the many significant benefits that the River Park will offer the residents of Studio City. These benefits include access to a wide array of recreational athletic amenities, as well as 6 acres of beautifully landscaped and maintained park space that includes walking trails, wooded areas, vista points, courtyard seating, a newly remodeled cafe, putting green, tennis courts. The core athletic amenities, as well as the park amenities, will be shared with Studio City residents and community-based organizations such as Angel City Sports and Special Olympics. The entire facility also represents a huge upgrade for the environment with the school's investment in stormwater reclamation, solar power, and hundreds of native trees and shrubs that will replace the non-native palms and other species that are not appropriate for the site. I could go on about the benefits, but I'll stop there. In any case, we do look forward to the next steps in the River Park project approval process and to continued engagement with this neighborhood council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ari. Ira, how much time is that? Over 1 minute?
That was 2 minutes, 34 seconds.
Over or total?
Including his minute previous? Including his minute previous, that was 3 minutes and 34 seconds.
All right, so he went, so all right, so for those that want a second bite of the apple for public comment, you'll have an additional 2 minutes and 34 seconds. Please raise your hand, and that way we have a balance of time. Terry Austin, go ahead.
Can you start me now? Is that right?
Yep, 2 minutes and 34 seconds. Go, give it a go.
Thank you. I just want to start again by saying that I think that the only motion to be considered tonight should be a request for a redistributed DEIR, because the one that has been submitted to the city is inadequate and insufficient. So when Ari says, oh, it's just on page 34, you can see what we've offered you. Yes, Ari, we know what you've offered us, and it is insufficient and inadequate. And that's what a draft EIR is. I spoke to the head planner. She told me the process is that the developer is offered a list of people to choose to compilate their answer to the DEIR. And they choose from that list and the city accepts it. It is the draft. I don't think any of these companies would stay in business for very long if they didn't write the rosiest report for their the person who's paying them. Not suggesting anything is untoward. I'm just saying that numbers can be spun and put in a rosy position. Reading this DEIR, which I have done over the last 2 months, not all 6,000 pages, but several categories I did delve right into. There are things that are not addressed. I don't believe any of us think that a 12-foot wall, which is an 8-foot fence, and a 8-foot wall and a 4-foot fence, which is a 12-foot barrier all along Valley Heart and Bel Air, is going to add to the quality of life or the ambience, or stop the noise from screaming and yelling sports participants on the other side of that wall. There's a lot of things that are inadequate in this DEIR. I don't think that everyone's had the opportunity to read all of it or delve into it very strongly. I was shocked to hear that the land use chair said that she hadn't read it, but was very happy to go along with it as long as there was a stoplight and they moved the birds somewhere. It just hasn't been looked into thoroughly enough, and waiting for the EIR and for the public hearing is waiting too late. We need to get all of the neighborhood councils in our area to weigh in on this, because it affects not just Studio City. We're not a patchwork quilt. We are a community of neighborhoods. And if we don't speak up for our own neighborhood, how does that make us look to the others? So we need you, all the chairs, to look into this, the biggest project. 16 acres, the last 16 acres of open space on the LA River. This is important, and it's really been given short.
And that's time. Thank you. Randy, you're muted.
Go ahead, Adele, 2 minutes and 34 seconds.
I'm sure I won't take that long. I just wanted to finish what I was saying about the trees, that how important they are, and how, when I looked into the DEIR, they're planting natives, which is great. But what they're not looking at is that these trees are some of them are 85 feet tall and have already sequestered so much carbon in the earth, and all that carbon is going to get released. And I'm just very concerned that there's sort of a little bit of, I don't know. I don't want to even go there, but And also, there are alternative sites and there are alternative ideas to this project that are not the ones they put in the DEIR, which are not realistically, they don't feel like realistic alternatives. If there were, a realistic alternative would be something a lot smaller. And even back in the day when Paul Kokorian was our council member, he even said they're gonna have to make it smaller. They're going to have to do that. And I don't think he was making that up. And I think that we really, a recirculated DEIR, great. And I thought the comments that Chip put together in such a short time were pretty good. And I don't know what you all want to do, but I definitely think this is very, very critical. And we have to really look at the issues in a hard way and not just listen to what we're being sold. So thanks a lot. And thanks for your service, you guys. I really appreciate what you do.
Thank you, Adele, and thank you for your service with sustainability. If you're for mayor, you have, to keep all things equal, another 2 minutes and 34 seconds. Go ahead.
Well, how about that? It's a first. Actual time to speak. If you keep doing this, I'm going to feel like a human. Oh, you're never going to be a human. Racist. No. Again, 6,000 pages. You don't need 6,000 pages. That's just to confuse you. You just need a large, big, black bag and plenty of cash to put it in. Because you have to pay a lot of people. This is big business. Oh, you mean like consultants? No, I'm talking about building inspectors, commission members, union reps, outside consultants. But you have to be careful. Watch out for those undercover agents. Now, how can we tell if somebody is undercover? Shit, I don't know. Well, we have a recording here. Here's one such example here, taken about 3 years ago. Is there a second? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ah, there you go. Oh. Well, I thought, is that the guy that dropped out of the mayor's race recently? So again, everybody, look for the signs. Do they reach for the money slowly or do they grab it quickly? Those that grab slowly are tending to record things, so look for the quick grabbers. And most of all, look for the office holder account. Who's donating to the office holder account? Like, for example, a $254 handbag was bought by a very pretty lady working for one of our 15 distinguished council members at Bloomingdale's. But it was listed as an office expense. Well, what the fuck is that about? Well, because human, you have to have fashion to hold business meetings. That qualifies. Yes, City Hall, the largest place to have fun in the entire world. I'll yield my remaining time to Mr. Weezer because he wants to talk.
Yeah, everybody. I'm not going to talk. I'm going to take it for the team. You'll see. I won't take the stand.
And that's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Kirby, go ahead. 2 minutes and 34 seconds.
It won't take me that long. I just wanted to reiterate about the RDEIR and the alternate plans. When the responses were sent, over 1,000 letters that we got copied on anyway, there were many alternative ideas in those letters, and also other ideas that would help Harvard Westlake help us get this all straightened out. So another request for the RDEIR, a letter from Studio City Neighborhood Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Seeing no other hands for public comment on agenda item 7, public comment is closed. Board comment. Scott, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Randy. Actually, I have a couple questions, but I'm just going to start with one. Can someone explain in more detail the RDEIR, the process, what it means if we request it, and is it something that gets granted, and then what happens? Thanks.
Lisa Karajian. Lisa.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I don't know that. I don't know what the answer is to that. I would have to look into it. I've never come across it, so. Terry Austin can actually answer that question. She seems to have done a lot of research on it and knows the answer to that question. So let's have her speak on it.
Sure. Let's have, let's finish board comment first, frankly, because giving her time to speak means we'll read just so we know, or reopening public comment to anyone who wants to speak.
The applicant would have to ask for it. I don't know if we actually, as a board or land use, can ask for that. I think the applicant would have to ask for it, but I'm not absolutely certain of that. So
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up now. I think actually the applicant, I think others can ask for it, but the applicant can
request it.
Yeah, I don't want to speak on behalf of city planning. What I would say is certainly something we can get the answer to, Scott. Were there any, but specific to the motion, since that's the question before us, actually not regarding the RDEIR. Did you have any other public comments about that?
Back to me, sure. Compliments to Chip for what he's able to do in such a short amount of time. I actually kind of want to defend Randy a bit. At least he did propose and form the ad hoc. I think it was a little late. We were late to the game. I think it would have been better if we had the ad hoc in place. We knew the DEIR was coming, and because it wasn't formed, as I would understand it would normally be formed under land use, we kind of had no choice at that last board meeting to do it. That being said, there are a few things that are not in the that are not in our response. So if we go through all the other public comment and the other detailed reports from the other organizations that were actually able to spend money and do the research, should we revise our response to the DEIR with more ad hoc work because we know it's incomplete, or should we submit something that we know is incomplete just to submit it and then submit again later? I'm questioning the process. I'm not understanding this. I'm only a year on the board. I've never seen the DEIR process. I get the impression most other board members have not. And listening to the public comment at 2 land use meetings ago, there were 2.5 hours of people pleading their case. And I think the stakeholders don't understand it either. So I'm not sure what my question is, other than what are we supposed to do with this report? Thanks.
Well, I think that as at least to answer that, the SCNC, at least I can speak for, in the past when DEIRs have come out, the SCNC has come out asking questions from that DEIR. The SCNC historically, by the way, that doesn't mean it has to be the position now, but just think historically, the SCNC has not taken a formal position on a project at the draft environmental impact report stage. They wait for the final report to come out and then weigh in again as this is a draft. I think it's also worth noting that while it was very valuable to hear public comment both for and against the project during the land use meeting in April, most of the comments actually were not related to the DEIR. They were rather personal. Either A, one side was attacking the other and discounting the public comment. Either they were a shill for the school, or they're an employee, so they don't really count as a stakeholder, or there was talks about residents, or vice versa. People saying, accusing those that are against the project of NIMBYism. So a lot of the comments, although heartfelt, were not actually directed to the DEIR. And so typically what happens is comments are made for that document. The city has put this draft version of a report out, and we get to hopefully look at it like stakeholders and pick it apart and say, hey, well, just as came up in sustainability, Melanie Winter brought up a great issue about PFAS, where there's nothing talked about turf. Harvard Westlake then was asked, and they said, well, no, there is none. And sustainability said, well, we'd love to know the manufacturer, et cetera, and verify that. But so there's questions asked, and the applicant hopefully answers all of those, and is a reasonable community partner in that process. And then we wait for the formal report to come out, and then make choices. As is being requested by stakeholders tonight, they're asking us, rather than wait for the formal report, ask for basically, if I'm understanding correctly, a redo of the DEIR. In other words, your draft is insufficient. We want another draft, or we believe the community deserves another draft. That's not on the agenda at the moment, but it certainly can be forthcoming. And because of time is of the essence, I mean, if it's necessary, I'm certainly happy to hold another board meeting for that singular topic. That's the process. I mean, and Lisa, please jump in and correct me if I misstated something. You know far more about the DEIR process than I do, but that's my understanding of the process. Brandon?
Thank you. I agree with a lot of what people were saying, but I guess I will wait for the formal report to come out to comment on it, except one thing. Ari did kind of open the door when he talked about public accessibility. I wasn't at the land use meeting because we were at the Movies in the Park event, but I just would like some clarity. He obviously is not going to be able to answer tonight. There's a big difference between public accessibility and open to the public, a massive difference between the two. One is limited, one is not. It doesn't exactly connect with the DEIR, but he did mention publicly accessible facilities, not open to the public facilities. So I just wanted to get that on record that there is a huge difference between the two. Thank you.
But may I respond to that? We also need to keep in mind that this is a privately owned property. So the fact that he's opening it up, or Harvard Westlake is opening it up to have accessibility by the public to certain areas of the property, is something that they are doing as a gift to the community. So I just want to make that clear, right? Like, they don't have to open up this entire property with the recreational facility to the public. They are doing it because they want to make sure that the community and the stakeholders are happy and comfortable, and they want to do something to give back. I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Karen, go ahead.
I think that the school bought a historic landmark and golf course. And it's been, I know, maybe since Ari is here, he can tell us how they have responded to the Studio City community in the past with complaints about lights and noise and that kind of thing, which we've heard on the committee. I don't think it's a gift to turn a public historic golf course into a private facility. I realized it was a public or a private transaction that also happened when at the beginning of COVID. Yeah, I just, ideally a gift to the community would be someone who could preserve the historical nature of that open space. We haven't talked about the cultural significance of it. We haven't talked about the river ecosystem with the eucalyptus trees. So for me, it is a really middle finger to our community. Thank you.
It is always, for the record, just to be clear though, it has always been privately owned property. It has never been publicly owned property. In fact, the city of Los Angeles at many points had opportunities to buy it and has specifically not purchased the property.
It's
So whether we support the project or oppose the project, I'm just saying it's always been privately held property. The
but
descendants
it's
of
always
Weddington-
been publicly accessible as a golf course, Randy. It's always had that
If
mission.
if you golf, sure. If you golf, I think it's but anyway, it's been private. It's privately owned. They purchased it actually in August, I think, or a little earlier, than the middle of 2019. But anyway, Ira Gold.
So curious about this report that we have, this ad hoc committee report. Was there feedback or input rather from kind of both sides of the aisle in this report? If the question was answered, I apologize if I missed it, but I know it was brought by Chip. So question A, was there input from both sides of the aisle, pro, con? Also, do we know, I mean, it's obviously, it was written, I feel it was written fairly well. I think it was written in a good friendly vein. However, it does seem to point in one direction. So my second question would be, was this kind of neutrally created, or was this created in a pointed manner with the intention of pointing to one side or the other? Thank you.
The purpose is to respond to what's in the DEIR and to try to find questions that are either not asked or they are insufficiently or questions that are asked are insufficiently answered. Yes, I will agree with Peter's comment in that it's unfortunate a ad hoc committee wasn't formed sooner. As soon as it had not been done, and as soon as it was called for at the land use meeting, at the next board meeting, I said, let's do it. People volunteered. He was the first person to volunteer, and I said yes. It is unfortunate there were no public hearings. Time was short, so I applaud Chip for circulating amongst his members and the detail. Peter Cole, for example, is a sound engineer, and I would argue, but I'm not a sound engineer, that what just this report's comments on sound and sound mitigation, I thought raises some really great questions. And that's the job. So our response is not to be like, here are the pros, here are the cons, because again, we're not debating whether to build the project or not. We're commenting on a draft environmental impact report that was issued. So that's what this is addressing. So whether we think this is a middle finger to the community or not, and maybe it is. Certainly there are those who feel it is, and some people feel it's of great benefit. To a certain extent, that's neither here nor there. Our goal at the moment is to respond to this. If we want, I think we should say something. We should weigh in, because I do think, although it's not an exhaustive exploration of 6,000 plus pages, I think it's a start. We should ask questions based on what we've seen in the DEIR, right? All the other commentary is important and valuable and needs to be heard by the city. And we will get there, but right now we're still at a draft stage of a report that we're responding to. So that's the goal of this. It's up to the board to decide if they agree with these questions. Should be submitted to city planning, along with, as I think Patty said, at least 1,000 other community members have weighed in with city planning. Should our voice too be heard, asking some important questions? Ari says that a number of these are answered. Let's see. He has seen this letter. I submitted it. I emailed him and Harvard Westlake folks that this was going to be on our agenda. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the goal. Jeff, please go ahead.
Good evening. Yes, I just want to thank Chip and his team for putting out this great product here on very short notice. Appreciate that. one question I had was in the DEIR, there are alternatives to the project. For instance, there's an alternative 1, no project, no build, 2, at-grade parking, 3, reduced density programming, alternative 4, no public use, no public events. So I didn't really see a breakdown, a compare and contrast in terms of questions in our analysis of the DEIR about the alternatives to the project. And some of these are very consequential. I mean, according to a table I found in the DEIR, the construction duration for the project is estimated to be 30 months, 35,714 soil export haul truck trips. And then it goes into a comparison with different alternatives, which may shorten the duration of the project and the number of truck trips, for example. So I think we need to delve into the alternatives that have been presented in the DEIR as well to give a complete picture in terms of the SCNC's analysis of the DEIR. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Jeff, I'm curious. So just, and again, this is historical, but of course doesn't have to be the guiding post of how we proceed. In the past, in terms of, let's say, endorsing, weighing and then endorsing, let's say, we support alternative 2 because of X, Y, and Z, or we support alternative 4, is that perhaps we would come to that decision once the formal environmental impact report is issued. So because this is just the draft. And so I think that, and Lisa Karajan, correct me if I'm wrong, the thinking of not making a formal position now is let's see what the final work product, the final report comes in after additional questions are asked by community members, by city planning. It's kind of like, all right, Harvard Westlake, let's see your best and final at this stage. And then once that's out, the community says, oh yeah, you screwed the pooch, you're crazy. And then we all say, yes, Karen was right. It was a middle finger to the community. Or we say, no, a lot of these questions are answered and we're taking a deeper dive. This actually is a benefit, and the supporters of this project were right, and we're going to endorse it, or we'll endorse one of the alternatives, because some of that may or may not change depending on what comes out in the final.
Yes, that's right. Patty Kirby actually has another comment. If we could call on her, please, just so we can have her comment on record.
So that's opening up public comment to anyone who wants to comment. So if that's what the board would like. And how much time would you like to give her, Lisa?
Just 1 minute, please.
Okay, please raise your hand for public comment on agenda item number 7. If you are dialing in, press *9. 1 minute, go ahead, Patty Kirby.
Don't need a whole minute. I just want to say that Save Coldwater Canyon got an RDEIR and their last go around, and they requested it. That's just for the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
How much time was that, Ira?
That was 15 seconds.
Okay, 15 seconds. Cherry Austin, go ahead.
I think you just said 1 minute before Patty Kirby. The fact that you didn't use a minute, you said 1 minute. So what
Go
I'd
ahead,
like to
Cherry.
point out-
Please
Thank
go
you.
ahead. Take 1 minute, Cherry.
Thank you.
No problem.
So
God bless.
Thank you, Lisa, about the redistributed DEIR. Anybody can ask about it or for it, and it will be based on the merit of the request, whether the Department of Planning asks for it. But of course, the more people who ask for it, the more chance it has of being further down the road. That's number 1. Number 2, it's not a gift. The property is zoned agricultural and open space. In order to even be considered for the conditional use permit they have to offer public benefit. What Karen pointed out is the public benefit is not, it's inadequate and insufficient. That's why we need the redistributed DEIR. Thank you.
Thank you, Cherry. By the way, just a note, I did courtesy of the of the applicant. The property was actually purchased well before by Harvard Westlake, well before COVID. It was purchased in October of 2017. Chip Meehan, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Ira, I wanted to address your issue, your question about the format of the document. Randy and I spoke within a week of the last board meeting. We did not have much time to put an ad hoc meeting together. We did not have time, since I had some travel as well, to meet in person. I spoke to a number of people on both sides of the issue. I'm surprised that there was a slant in the document that you tested. I certainly didn't mean to put one in there. The idea was to dispense with anyone's point of view coming in and only take a look at the issues, put the issues on the table, and then the discussion of those issues will lead us to.
And that was time. Sorry. Thank you for that.
Fuhrer for mayor, 1 minute.
Yes. What a lively debate. Talking about acronyms, DEIR. There's only one acronym I know, FBI. And that's the only thing that can save us. Look what happened to Anaheim Stadium, Randy. Somebody sent a fucking email that some confidential information was shared, and Rob Bonta ran to the federal courthouse and stopped it. How about that? Yes. So if you want a new DIR for a new LAC, you got to get the FBI to file the identity document known as an indictment. Yeah, that kind of rhymes. Yes, it does. Goat puppet. Bring the forest back to Studio City. Yes. Farmland. We like it.
That's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Also worth noting, apparently there was an RDEIR that was done for the Harvard Westlake Coldwater Canyon parking lot that was requested and granted, just for reference. But let's keep us to what's at hand. Adele, go ahead for 1 minute.
I just thought that Chip should get 324 since everybody else did and he didn't talk before, and I yield my time to him. I'm yielding my time to Chip. Can I do
Yeah,
that?
thank you very much.
52 seconds left, Randy.
No, let's just see if Chip had anything more to say. I don't know. Chip, did you have any further comments?
No, just quickly, the idea was to end up with something neutral. And as far as the alternatives, we were focused only on the principal application. So we did not actually take a look at the alternatives and take them apart. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other board comment on this? If not, I would say let's take it to a vote. Okay, seeing none, hearing none. Brandon, go ahead.
Hey, Kim Clements,
Yes.
Dean Cutler,
Yes.
Randall Freed,
Yes.
Ira Gold,
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick,
Yes.
Julie, is she in attendance? No.
I don't think so.
Lisa Karajian,
I abstain.
Scott Mandel,
Yes.
Brandon Moreno, yes. Richard Niederberg,
Yes.
Aaron Sorrow,
Yes.
Adam Summer,
Yes.
Alexis Steinberg,
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate it. Moving right along to agenda item number 8, transportation. Just worth noting that some of you or all of you realize that due to city changes with Zoom licenses and Zoom settings without notice to any of the NCs, any meeting that was held by an NC in a meeting format suddenly required a passcode. And that's why a number of meetings couldn't happen initially. And then we realized we were able to switch them to a webinar setting that did not require a passcode. And because of that, the meetings were not Brown Act compliant. And so these motions are being brought forward, though they're from transportation. There's a couple being brought by myself and Scott. So motion 8A, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes Council File 22-002-S58, a resolution supporting State Assembly Bill 2336, AB 2336 Friedman Ting, to authorize the city to implement a speed safety pilot program. This motion is also to be submitted as separate community impact statement, CIS Council File 22-0002-S42, brought by myself. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
Oh, lots of seconds. I heard Brandon's name first. With that, we'll go to public comment. Here we go. Hi, Barry. Sorry, let's have you unmuted. Is there any public comment on
Sorry.
agenda 8A? Seeing no hands, public comment for agenda item 8A. Fear for mayor, go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Oh, no, it's not fear for mayor. It's fear is fucked for mayor. That's the difference. Yes. And finally, we're getting to more corruption in the agenda. I mean, we want to hand out those goodies. Everybody's here on the call looking for the goodies. Yes, I think Lisa could use another piano back there. It's a nice studio. Yes, we have all these talented people here on the call. One city and too many mouths to feed. Who said that? Oh, that was Mitchell Englander, one of the great neighborhood council member of the 12th district. Fine man, fine human being. Reserve officer, by the way. Yes, highly recommended, Mr. Englander. Great man. Yes, that's right. And remember, a large black bag, preferably with a zipper. And if you could put a lock on it too, we'd strongly recommend that. I don't know.
That's time. Thank you.
Barry, did you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Between this motion and the second one, I do have a short committee report. But for this one, you all should know that this particular assembly bill would bring back speed cameras. It's again Sacramento trying to tell us what to do statewide, and the city of Los Angeles did away with them years ago. So that's where this motion is coming from. We do not support this assembly bill, which in its pilot program, they say pilot, would bring back speed cameras. But being that it's the state, they pilot them back and we'd be stuck with them forever. So the committee's trying to stand up to our state legislature again.
Seeing no other hands for public comment on this agenda item, public comment is closed. Board comment. Brandon, go ahead. And then Adam.
Is this Laura Friedman again? I'm getting the impression she hates automobiles. It seems that every bill she authors or co-authors is anti-car, anti-anything except buses and trains, maybe not even buses. So this is just another example of Sacramento killing us with 1,000 cuts. They can't do one big bill, but they'll do 1,000 little ones to gradually get rid of automobiles in this state. So I support the opposition here.
Thanks, Adam. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just don't understand the objective. Just to make people who are already hurting financially, like, hit a little harder. I just wonder who's the one pushing this. I'm just like Brandon, like, it's astounding to me. I think, speeding ticket, parking tickets, like, but how is this making it through city council? Because the people that get hurt by this are the people that can't afford these tickets. And what's the incentive, I guess, for the state? What are they trying to get out of this? Is this a transportation issue? Is this a funding issue for the state or for the city? So I wish it would stop. It's not cool. Unless you want to live in Beverly Hills and get slammed by those cameras. So
Richard Niederberg, go ahead.
Yeah, the speed cameras, with the same basic setup that they have on the red light cameras. It causes all kinds of problems. I personally judged more than 1,000 of these cases in Van Nuys. It just doesn't work. And the same equipment can be used for both, because when they're taking pictures and taking successive pictures, they know the time between the pictures so they can calculate the speed. I'd say let's dump this whole idea. It doesn't work. After 1,000 cases, sorry.
Thanks, Richard. Barry, anything else?
No, nothing else for A.
Okay. I think it's pretty clear why the state wants to do it. Money. But in any event, let's take it to a vote.
Okay, we're voting on 8A. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Randall Freed.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie is still absent. Lisa Karajian.
Yes.
Where's the one here? Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Moreno, yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer.
yes.
Alexis Steinberg.
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
And
Moving
I
right
have-
along. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, two quick things to report on. We have been watching the Berry Drive Ventura signal progress. They've done the south side. It's taken 5-6 years to get there. They're now working on the north side. Amazing. So maybe we will get the signal there sometime in this calendar year. And the other thing is between south of Ventura, between Colfax and Tujunga, 11 years ago, we had many stakeholders request a preferential parking district. They finally got it just before or right when COVID was starting, but mistakenly, one of the streets, Blue Canyon, was left out. Our city's transportation committee just made that right at the Transportation Commission meeting last Thursday. So that PPD is finally going to be made whole, and the people on Blue Canyon will finally be like everyone else in their neighborhood with the preferential parking. So we can go on to B. Did you want me to read it?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports Council File 22-0369 to report on the feasibility of creating a community reporting system for idling commercial vehicles integrated into 311 or a similar online tool, similar to New York City Citizen Air Complaint Program. And I'll just mention, when I saw this, I had remembered seeing a story in the news about down by the port, neighborhoods that were having trouble with idling trucks, parking, and, parents thought their kids shouldn't even go outside because they'd be smelling diesel fumes. So that's why we supported this in transportation.
Second.
Scott, thanks. Seconded by Scott. Opening a public comment on agenda item number 7B. Fear for mayor, go ahead.
Yes, obviously none of you assholes have driven a commercial vehicle like one of those trucks. They don't just start and stop like a Mercedes. You have to leave them running or your batteries go dead. You know the thingy dingy, Lisa, in the back with the thingy dingy that goes up and down to go ahead and supply all your overpriced stores over there in our former hotel. Well, you have to leave the motors running or the battery goes dead. And you don't want to jump start an 18-wheeler, do you? Shit, I do. Well, of course, if you drive a tow truck and do that, it's $950 a service call. Yes, what a good job. But we make more money here stealing, don't we, than working a real job. You like to attack working people, especially commercial drivers, don't you? No more front.
That's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands for public comment, board comment. Go ahead, Brandon.
When I understand, this is we're only supporting a report on this. It's not going to be actually a motion. They're going to create and submit a report based on something Fuhr was talking about. That'll probably be part of the report. There'll probably be feedback by individuals who know how to operate trucks and exactly what he just said, that they have to be kept running, especially like diesels. It takes a while for them to start up once they're cold. So this is only to support a report, and then, from what I understand, then they'll make a motion, if I'm reading it correctly.
Yes.
Kim, go ahead.
I am such not a fan of these report tattle on your neighbor kind of things set up. And I understand that they're having a problem and it's a real problem. I do not think that that is an answer, though, a call in and reporting. I did read up on this a little bit, and reporting license plates and whatnot. I think there's a better answer. So I'm not in favor even of the report for it, because I wouldn't vote yes, even if they came back and said, gee, that's, yeah, there's these problems with the trucks if you restart them or whatnot. I don't like the system personally. Thank you.
I'll just point at, sometimes the old phrase of trust but verify. I think that we can look at, even in Studio City, around Sportsman's Landing, thanks to Scott, thanks to others, which is exactly reporting when trucks were not in compliance for loading. And we were through reporting, we're able to get better compliance. So it's great if people would and drivers could be responsible, but I think sometimes reporting, it works in my opinion. But I hear what you're saying. Scott, go ahead.
Thank you. I understand the arguments against and people turning into snitches, but this is and also this is going on in New York, so that's really not a great argument. However, it's not encountering any of the problems with trucks starting and not being able to continue on their deliveries. In fact, it's even more strict in New York. It's a minute in the school areas and 3 minutes in other areas. And it's $350 fine, and the person who does the reporting gets $87.50 if the fine is paid. And I think it's a good incentive for the trucking industry to cut back on pollution. And further to what Randy said, there's a bus stop in front of the Sportsman's Lodge, and it clearly says on the metro sign that the driver is not allowed to idle his bus while he's on his overlay. And I would constantly tap on the door of the bus and say, cut your engine, sign says. So they need a little bit of a push to do the right thing. And, you know, air pollution is a pretty big problem. And at least what's going on in New York, and from all the data I've read, there isn't a surge in truck issues. And I think at least it's worth looking into to see if this is feasible. So I would support this at this stage.
Thanks, Scott. Any other board comment? Let's bring it to a vote.
Okay, we're voting on 8B. Kim Clements.
No.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Randall Freed.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie Houlihan, absent, still absent. Lisa Krajian.
No.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Marino. No. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer.
No.
Alexis Steinberg.
No.
Abigail Velasco.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 no's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Seven
seven yeses. It passes. Motion passes by 1.
Thank you very much. Moving right along to agenda 8A, Government Affairs. Barry, go ahead.
Yes, this first motion, just a little background, both our city council and state legislature oppose this change to the state constitution, which essentially would keep them from taxing you and calling it a fee. You know, so by us opposing this resolution, we're saying we don't want the state or city to be able to tax us and call it something other than a tax. So that's why it's called the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act. So I'll read it. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes Council File 22-002-XS61, a resolution to oppose the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act, which would amend the state constitution to impose restrictions on the ways in which state and local governments can impose taxes, fees, and other charges. Furthermore, the SCNC supports the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act. This motion is also to be submitted as a separate community impact statement. That should be statement, not plural. CIS to CF 22-002-S61. It's brought by Scott Mandel, and it needs a second.
Second. I beat you. Also, point of order really quick, Randy. This should be agenda item 9. It was erroneously listed as 8. There's 2 8s on the agenda, transportation and government affairs. So from this point forward, this will be 9. The next one will be 10, and so on and so forth.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, we'll take this to public comment. If you're for mayor, go ahead.
Yes. You can see Randy slipping, can't you? It's the beginning of the end of his reign as president. Well, like Biden. Yes, Randy Biden. Perfect. So we continue down the list of horrible ideas. But again, did you ever ask a commercial truck driver about that item, that last one? No, of course not. Because you guys ask people that don't know shit. You'll ask an attorney about plumbing. You'll ask a plumber about law. That's the Randy philosophy. Gamble with the information. and make stupid laws. Randy Free. Who knows? Maybe the next mayor who will be indicted. Sounds exciting. Yeah.
That's time. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands for public comment on this agenda item, board comment?
Oh,
Go ahead.
Karen? Or-
Karen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the intent of this was to require us to vote for every tax that is imposed on us, which nobody wants taxes. So, we're always going to vote no. And then we're going to be like Florida or Texas or whatever, so it's like, I'm not sure I'm for it. Thank you.
Jeff.
Yeah, what they're trying to do here is they're trying to chip away at Prop 13 protections. And I read in the newspaper the other day that the state of California has a $97.5 billion surplus. And what that tells me is that they're taxing the taxpayers way too much if they have that much money left over. So I support this measure wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Scott?
Thanks. I just want everyone to know this is going to be a ballot measure. So we are going to get to vote on it. And the ballot measure pretty much reinforces all the other ballot measures we've already voted on and said, you can't tax us without our permission. And the municipalities and the state, they all get around it by raising fees and calling the taxes a fee. And they just want an easier money grab. And I don't think we're going to wind up like no tax states, because voters have been very generous over the years in passing all kinds of sales tax, property tax. I mean, look at the billions that went into the H, the triple H, the R, 63. I mean, there's just billions and billions of dollars in fees that we assess ourselves. How's that bullet train going? We voted for that too. So if we vote for stupid taxes, that's fine. If we vote no, that's fine. But if the legislature or the council tries to sneak them in as fees, that's not fine. That's my view. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's always funny, when the city assesses a fee for a project, I'm just always reminded of like all the stories for those. I'm not from the East Coast, but I guess I travel enough. You look at the Lincoln Tunnel. So fees were initially assessed because the city said, well, we have to pay the city back for the tunnel coming into New York City. The tunnel has been long paid for many, many years, but there's still fees to get into the city. Because once the city's has a revenue stream, just echo Scott's words, they are oftentimes slow to let it go. So I think it's appropriate, that the voters should be allowed to vote on the taxes that we pay. And also, it is a good point, Scott, that in fact, the California voter has not voted every time, hasn't always voted no when at the prospect of being charged more. In fact, California has voted time and again to charge more, and even on the state credit card. If you look at bond issues, most bond measures in the state of California, which is taking on more debt, the voters approve. So I think this is a worthwhile thing to support, and I look forward to voting on it as a ballot measure as well. So without that, let's take a look.
Okay, we are voting on 9A. Well, now it's 9A. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Randall Freed.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie is still absent. Lisa Karagian.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Marino. Yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
No.
Adam Summer. Adam, you still with us?
Yes.
Is that a yes, you're with us, or yes, yes on the motion?
No, yes on the motion.
Okay. Alexa Steinberg.
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving right along to 9B.
And 9B is something this neighborhood council has already chimed in on and said no. They're trying to sneak it in again, and I'll read the motion. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes Council File 22-0392 to allow digital off-site signs to be displayed on structures that are part of the Transportation Communication Network program between the city and Metro. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to CF 22-0392. And as I said, now they're trying to let the structures that are part of the Transportation Community Network program between the city and Metro have off-site digital signs. And when it's off-site, that's advertising. So that's what this one's about.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Oh, and I forgot
Public,
to say it's brought by Brandon Marino. Thank you.
thank you. Public comment? If you're for mayor, go ahead.
Scumbag, Miss Sheila Q, you anti-Semitic son of an asshole. I am a Jew. My mother was a Jew. I know. And if you say that again, I will.
Oh, isn't that nice? We're gonna miss her so much. Yes. Yes, the great one, Sheila Q, who taught me as a young goat how to speak. Yes. I didn't know that's where you got it from. Yes, I was raised by Sheila Q. That's how I got my mouth and my pretty vocabulary. That's a fun fact. Yes, I support this motion, though. It's actually good. For the first time tonight, finally, you humans have your heads screwed on straight. Yes. And as for the Rams fan, there's only one real football team in LA, and that's the Chargers. The Rams belong back there in Anaheim. Carpet.
That's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, go Rams. Board comment on this? Seeing none, hearing none, take it to a vote.
Okay. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Randall Freed.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julia's absent. Lisa Karagian.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Moreno. Yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer.
Yes.
Alexa Steinberg.
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you very
Moving
much.
on. Motion C, the board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports Council File 21-1386's April 6, 2022 report from the Bureau of Street Services, in parentheses, Streets LA, close quote, for the city's inventory of both improved and unimproved medians throughout the city. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to CF 21-1386. It's brought by Scott Mandel. And do we have a second?
Second.
A second. Yeah.
That'll be Richard.
Thank you. And just a little background on this. We are actually supporting something that's in the council file on this one. It's the April 6th report from the Bureau of Street Services. And if you go to the file and click on that report, it's a real good read about this whole thing in terms of our medians, or both improved and unimproved medians, which for LA is mostly consists of weeds. So that's all.
Okay, public comment. If you're for mayor, go ahead.
Yes. Look at the beautiful medians in Sherman Oaks. And the ones down in Wilshire, Koreatown, that Herb Wesson, the one thing he did right in life, he made them so pretty, but you have to water the plants. And there's a maintenance contractor that has the one for the valley. Ladies and gentlemen, Julio.
Oh, thank you so much. I just want to let you know that I don't really cut the weeds. I just charge the city every month, and I don't do all the work, and they keep paying me. His name is Bob Blobenbleld. That's the guy I get the money from.
Thank you. So you see, people, money for nothing, and your chicks for free. Outside contracts, the way to go for a healthy community.
Now, do I go to the FBI?
That's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. Board comment. Hearing none, seeing none, let's take it to a vote.
Okay. Kim Clements? Yes. Dean Cutler?
Yes.
Randall Freed?
Yes.
Ira Gold?
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick?
Yes.
Julia still absent. Lisa Karajian?
Yes.
Scott Mandel?
Yes.
Brandon Marino? Yes. Richard Niederberg?
Yes.
Karen Sorrow?
Yes.
Adam Summer?
Yes.
Alexis Steinberg?
Yes.
Abigail Velasco?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, next.
And the last GAC motion has to do with a regional dog park at North Hollywood Park. And because it's regional, we can chime in. The funding has already been approved, but our committee felt they were putting it in the wrong location because the south end of the park, right near Riverside, where the 170 northbound on-ramp is, has really no parking, and the residential neighborhood across the street is a parking impacted neighborhood. So we came up with this. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes Council File 22-0139 with respect to the location of a proposed dog park at North Hollywood Park, unless the dog park is moved near parking lots in the north section of the park between Magnolia Boulevard and Chandler Boulevard along the 170 freeway. The current proposed south tip of the park has no parking area and is adjacent to parking impacted residential streets. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to CF 22-0139. It's brought by Brandon Marino, and we need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Richard.
Richard,
Okay,
very
thanks.
quick there with the second. Getting public comment. If you're for mayor, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, human. Woof, woof. Yes, it's a woof, woof, bad location. Woof, woof, because there's no woof, woof, parking. Woof, woof. Somebody must have woof, woof, paid off the building inspector. Woof, woof. The office holder account got paid, and woof, woof. Paul Kokorian, you're up to your dirty tricks again. Woof, woof. Don't support the woof, woof, corrupt dog park. Woof, woof. I couldn't have said it better myself. Animals, we deserve better than Paul Martin Kokorian and Nifty a ramen noodle.
Terry Austin, go ahead.
Hi, I've sat on task force for proposed dog parks in both the city of Los Angeles, city of Malibu, and the city of Beverly Hills. And most dog parks service the communities that are directly adjacent to them. So you don't have a lot of people parking. A lot of people are walking to the dog park. So before negating the opportunity for this dog park to exist, and there we are sorely lacking in dog parks, especially for people who are renters and might live in situations where they don't have yards of any kind. Dog parks are their only opportunity to have an off-leash experience for their animals. The number one reason why dogs are relinquished to the shelter is behavioral issues. The number one reason dogs have behavioral issues is they're not allowed to get out their yayas. So dog parks are really essential to keeping animals out of our shelters and from being euthanized. So before you negate this because of a parking issue, I think that maybe you want to study it further and see who's using this dog park by zip code, or see if there might.
That's time. Thank you.
And this, by the way, this dog park has already been funded, so nothing in this motion negates it. It's only a question of where it's placed, and you can be darn sure there will be stakeholders from Studio City going to this dog park, and there will be nowhere to park if it's placed at the southern tip of the park, compiling an already terrible parking problem for the people that live in the neighborhood just east of the park. So this is just a suggestion at avoiding a problem that's going to be a problem if it's built where they want to build it.
Board comment? Hearing none, seeing none, let's take it to a vote.
Okay. Kim Clements,
Yes.
Dean Cutler,
Yes.
Randall Freed, Randall,
No.
Ira Gold,
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick,
Yes.
Julia's absent. Still. Lisa Karajian,
No.
Scott Mandel,
Yes.
Brandon Marino, yes. Richard Niederberg. Richard?
Yes.
Okay. Karen Sorrow,
No.
Adam Summer,
No.
Alexa Steinberg,
No.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Motion passes.
Motion passes. Okay, thank you very much, Barry. On to agenda number 10, public safety. Scott Mandel, take it away.
Thank you, Randy. On 10A, just a very quick introduction. You all passed this exact same motion at the last board meeting that was presented by Public Safety, but for the underpass of the 101 Coldwater. And since then, there's been well over 100 stakeholders who live adjacent to that who have petitioned Councilmember Rahman's office with our motion and asking for what we were asking for. And in turn, the people who live near Whitsett have requested the same thing, and then they want to petition Councilmember Rahman's office. And there will probably be more that follow. So it's a bit wordy, but I'll try to read it quickly. And it's the same one that we passed before. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council requests that Councilmember Rahman designate the underpass at Whitsett Avenue 101 Freeway as a special enforcement zone under LAMC Section 4118C2. The SCNC has received numerous complaints from stakeholders who are concerned about public health and safety dangers created by the homeless encampment that was located there. Thankfully, the city recently cleared out the encampment. The residents and businesses in proximity to the underpass can now breathe a sigh of relief, no longer living in fear, surrounded by criminal activity, trash, open air drug use, and the reduced quality of life. But once an area has been cleared, it is imperative to keep that location encampment free. Otherwise, the cycle of despair will only continue for the homeless and the adjacent residents and businesses until there is a citywide approach to the homeless crisis. Special enforcement designation at the Whitsett Avenue 101 Freeway underpass is crucial. The underpass has recently been marked by drug dealing, illegal drug use, dangerous fires. Breathing toxic diesel exhaust fumes is also harmful to the health of those camping there. There is therefore ample evidence to support an enforcement designation resolution for a city council vote. Such a designation would prevent individuals from sitting, lying, sleeping, or storing, using or maintaining or placing personal property or otherwise obstructing the public right-of-way of the underpass. If a special enforcement designation is not given, the LAPD will only be able to cite as infractions violations of the American with Disabilities Act pursuant to section 4118A1 and not for living in a tent or other shelter at the underpass. To date, Councilmember Rodman has failed to designate any 4118 special enforcement zones, unlike council members in neighboring districts. It is now time for Councilmember Rodman to designate this underpass as a special enforcement zone as stakeholders fear the encampment's return. Outreach alone will not solve the problem for the service resistant, so a legal enforcement tool must be an option. A designation will ensure that our residents, disabled persons, and children can safely travel through the underpass without obstructions. And there's the link.
Thank you. Public comment on agenda item 10A. If you're for mayor, go ahead.
Yes. What do you think about voting against David Rue now, huh? Holy shit. Nithya Ramen Noodle. What a maniac. She doesn't think there should be any anti-camping zone. But she lives in a beautiful multi-million-dollar home with a housekeeper and 4 cars and 9 dogs in beautiful Silver Lake. Does she give a shit about you? She hasn't even opened up her Valley office. Hasn't even bothered to get office suites. What about the one in the Encino building? Oh no, Goat Puppet went up there. It's still locked up and being used by Team Corette's, but we're paying the lease on it in the Wells Fargo building. Nithya Ramen Noodle, the biggest mistake since not having that abortion.
And that's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands for public comment. Public comment is closed. Board comment. Go ahead, Ira.
So we received several emails as a board on this. So there seems to be at least some sort of unified front coming from the community. So being the voice of Studio City, I don't see how we could deny those voices. So I'll be voting for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. Any other board comment? Seeing none, hearing none, let's bring it to a vote, please. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Why did you guys choose to make the motion, I don't know, as lengthy as you did and in the way that you did? Just a little unconventional, I think. Just as a reader, if you're just accessing the agenda, like online, I don't know, I think it could have been made a little more succinct, but I think it's a great motion. I was thinking in the future we're trying to make it accessible to our viewers. So
thanks, Adam.
If I can,
let's bring it to a vote.
address that real quick. That's a good
Sure.
point, but this is a request for action. And it was based on input from a lot of stakeholders who requested specific points be made about the horrors that they were experiencing.
Okay.
Numerous Zoom meetings where they were actually crying.
Oh, I know. I think it.
Yeah. So I did preface it and said it's a bit wordy. Bear with me, and I agree with what you said. It is a tough read.
It's just a little. I am not used to seeing.
Yeah,
as detailed and like what is happening. So
I hear you.
But I wish the council did that more often, like the city council. If you read over the motions.
Great. Let's bring it to a vote, please.
Okay. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Randall Freed.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
He is still absent. Lisa Karajian.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Moreno, yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer.
Definitely yes.
Alexa Steinberg,
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving right along.
Next one, the Board of the City of City Neighborhood Council supports Council File 22-0415, title Serious and Violent Crimes, Public Transit System, Safety, Armed and Unarmed Response Models. Given the recent spike in violent crimes in and around transit, as well as the changing perceptions of the need for alternative approaches to public safety on transit systems, it is imperative that the Los Angeles Department of Transportation and the Los Angeles Police Department be directed to report back on how to improve safety in all city transit systems and station stops as it relates to serious and violent crime. Additionally, the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transit Authority is requested to report with past and upcoming efforts to curtail the issue of violent crimes on trains, buses, and transportation stops, including an analysis of armed and unarmed response models. This motion is to also be submitted as a community impact statement to Council File 22-0415.
Board comment, pardon me, public comment. Fear for mayor, go ahead.
Yes, yes, Goat Puppet actually has some good ideas on this. Uh-oh. No. I noticed that these homeless criminals on the public transportation calm down when they see people talking to puppets. So when you sit down next to them and they're going, all you do is you pull out your puppet and he looks at the puppet and you go, what do you have a problem with? And then all of a sudden, they get right off on the next stop. A very effective de-escalation technique. Make them think that you're out of your fucking mind. And then you have a safer trip. Goat Puppet, finding ways to use public transportation. I know none of you use public transportation. Yes, you look too clean and healthy. That's why.
That's time. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands for public comment, we'll take board comment. Richard Niederberg, go ahead.
Yeah, we really can't be telling Metro what to do or requesting stuff from them. They're an independent district, not part of the city or the county. So I'm a little concerned about that particular part of the motion.
Thank you, Richard. Any other board comment? Jeff. Jeff, no? You're muted, Jeff.
Thank you. I may be wrong, but I believe that there's kind of a police sharing arrangement where the LA County Sheriff's Department provides some security on certain metro transit systems, and then the LAPD also does that. So I remember reading that from doing research on one of these past motions. So that might be a reason why this is a community impact, a council file and that sort of thing dealing with Los Angeles. Thanks.
Yeah, the background is that LA County Sheriff used to be the sole provider of security, and there were issues. And finally, the city wrested security for the trains and some of the transit stops from LA County Sheriff because LAPD felt, and the city of Los Angeles felt, the county was falling short. Crime went a bit down. I think that this is a great motion, but I think we also have to be realistic that the city is low on police officers, and it's not a budget issue. Garcetti's, the latest iteration of the budget, called for an additional 780 officers. We're going to fall well short of that. The city was hoping to have, or at least when Garcetti started as mayor, for example, we were around 10,000 officers. We're now down to just under 9,300, or somewhere right about there. We're losing officers. It's not a money issue. And so it's, to me anyway, understandable why crime is on the rise in part. So anyway, I support this motion, and I think we'll have to make other motions to the city about LAPD generally and how we hire. I don't know, but our officer numbers are going in the wrong direction. Anyway, any other board comment? Let's bring it to a vote.
Okay. Kim Clements,
Yes.
Dean Cutler,
Yes.
Randall Freed,
Yes.
Ira Gold,
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick,
Yes.
Julie is still absent, Lisa Karajian,
Yes.
Scott Mandel,
Yes.
Brandon Marino, yes, Richard Niederberg,
Yes.
Karen Sorrow,
Yes.
Adam Summer,
Yes.
Alexa Steinberg,
Yes.
Abigail Velasco. Abby?
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
Great. Next.
I just want to say the reason why there's so many at this meeting is because public safety, we changed our date of the meeting, so we didn't have any at the actual last board meeting. So this is 2 months worth of public safety committee motions, and I promise you next month there'll be half as many. This was also touched on by one of our government speakers about a catalytic etching event that's occurring this weekend, catalytic converter etching event. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports Council File 22-0390 title Catalytic Converters Unlawful Possession Prohibition. According to the Los Angeles Police Department, reported thefts of catalytic converters in the city of Los Angeles have increased year after year from 2018 to 2021, with 972 reported thefts in 2018, 1,198 reported thefts in 2019, 3,131 reported thefts in 2020, and 5,880 reported thefts in 2021. It is important that the city of Los Angeles take all necessary steps to curb the theft of catalytic converters. As such, the city attorney is instructed to prepare and present a draft ordinance prohibiting the unlawful possession of catalytic converters similar to those approved by the cities of Lake Forest, Desert Hot Springs, Mission Viejo, Irvine, and others. In addition, the SCNC also supports catalytic converter etching events, such as those sponsored by the LAPD. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement to Council File 22-0390. And there's the links below.
Take public comment. If you're for mayor, go ahead.
Yes, and you should hear the story of one of the board members of the Northridge South End team. She had her catalytic converter cut right out of her car in her driveway. Yes. How painful, isn't it? To wake up and see your catalytic converter gone. And of course, living in a ghetto city as we do, you have to resort to etching. Boy, oh boy, have the mighty fallen. Would you imagine 10 years ago that people living in Studio City would have to etch their catalytic converters because they're afraid they'll be cut out of their cars? What's the point of living in this state anymore? It's become a complete shithole. Goat Puppet will never submit to the etching. No. I say put your car in your garage instead of using it as a...
That's time. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands for public comment, we'll take board comment on this. Seeing none, hearing none, let's take. Nope.
I'm sorry. I don't know what etching is, but I want to know in case I need to do it.
Richard Niederberg, go ahead.
Does anybody get an answer?
Yeah, last year I had to replace two catalytic converters for my SUV. It was very expensive, $1,600 in parts alone.
Brandon?
Yeah, to answer Adam's question, they etch your catalytic converters, so if somebody has it, they can link it back to you. And if you report a stolen catalytic converter, and that catalytic converter is down in someone's possession, and then etching would be some kind of serial number linked back to you, then the person therefore has a stolen catalytic converter. So that's what that's all about, I believe, if Scott wants to correct me on that.
That's absolutely correct. And what's odd is that catalytic converter is one of the few items on your car that does not have a VIN. There's no identifying number. Almost every single part on a car does. The catalytic converter is more valuable than most parts. They jack up the car and they have this little power etching, and it's either your license plate or your driver's license number or something along those lines. So when they do raid the scrap yards, or they find the car that has 15 catalytic converters in there and it has your number, they can return it. It helps.
Any other board comment? Let's bring it to a vote.
Okay. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Randall Freed.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie is still absent. Lisa Karajian.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Marino, yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer.
Yes.
Alexa Steinberg.
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Next, 10D.
Thank you. This is a bit of housekeeping for the city council is finalizing all of the loose ends of the 4118 that we've heard so much about. And this is important because likely one of our council members will vote yes, and one of our council members will vote no. And I think it's important to make our statement to both. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports Council File 20-1376S1, an ordinance amending section 5611 of the Los Angeles Municipal Code to align it with section 4118 of this code and to remove references to bulky items. The LA City Council passed and the mayor signed revisions to the Los Angeles Municipal Code section 4118C, 1, and D, which were supported by the Studio City Neighborhood Council. This ordinance brings LAMC section 5611 up to date with the provisions of 4818 as it applies to the storage and removal of property illegally obstructing public spaces. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement to Council File 20-1376-S1, and there's the link to the ordinance.
Randall,
Thank
may
you
I
very
make
much.
a point of order, or however
Sure.
you do it?
Sure.
Before we get
Sure.
to public comment, which would require an amendment, can I just ask Scott if it's okay if we could change SCNC to Studio City Neighborhood Council? Because some people might be reading this that don't know what the Studio City Neighborhood Council is. I would just rather just put Studio City Neighborhood Council instead of abbreviating it SCNC.
For the second instance where I just called it SCNC.
Yeah, which were supported by the
Sure.
SCNC. Can that just be Studio City Neighborhood Council?
Absolutely.
I know it's nitpicking, but you never know who's going to read these.
Okay, very good. Public comment. Fjord Vermeer, go ahead.
Well, good. Going against these homeless. And you're doing them a favor. I mean, they're just sitting there all day smoking crack and eating at the 7-Eleven with the free EBT card. But that's not what you want. You want them to get up and move about. Go to the library. Go to Gelson's and get some fresh fruits and vegetables for a hearty meal. And you can do that only one way, by getting them up off their ass and taking those tents down. Mr. President, take down all those tents and move them along. Maybe to Kentucky. That's a nice place. Homeless people will be happy there. Or the high desert. Yes, the Mojave Desert.
That's time. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands for public comment. Public comment is closed. Board comment.
I'm just trying to determine exactly what it changes.
Scott?
The link to the ordinance that's being changed aligns the storage of the property on public space with the past 4118. So it's more of a housekeeping measure, and the removal of the words bulky items is in accordance with a recent court decision that it couldn't be limited to bulky items. So now it's everything that's blocking the public right of way. So if essentially, if you were for 4118, this is the companion to it, the 5611, which addresses the physical materials that are being stored. And I would actually ask Jeff to just make sure I summarize that properly.
Jeff?
Yes, Scott's correct. I believe the prior ordinance 5611 referred to items as bulky items. There was some litigation involved in that, so they changed the word bulky items to personal property. And that's the same term that's referenced in 4118. So Scott's correct. They're just making it consistent, both ordinances, so they're on the same page.
Okay, I could see personal property, but yeah, I couldn't understand how it, what was the difference? So thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other board comment? Hearing none, seeing none, take it to a vote.
Okay. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Randall Freed.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie is still absent. Lisa Karajian.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Marino. Yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer.
Yes.
Alexa Steinberg.
Yes.
Abigail Velasco.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Last motion of the night, brought by me, a little housekeeping. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves of the purchase of 2 licenses for Zoom at a cost of $200 per license. Basically, excuse me. Basically, the city has always paid for this. What has paid for 1 license per neighborhood council. The city is shifting budgets by having every NC have the fee for the Zoom license come out of each NC's budget. They justify this by saying you can buy more than one. The advantage of buying more than 1 Zoom license is this frees up meeting times. In other words, you could have 2 committees meeting at the same time or in close proximity to each other, and you don't get stuck with only 1 meeting at a time. So to me, which we have had that issue in the past, it seems appropriate. It provides the SCNC more flexibility, as well as it's in our budget. We have, and so with that, that's the motion. We'll take first. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Richard.
Okay,
Richard
Brandon, I'll leave that for you to pick.
No. I'll give it to Richard. He's on a roll.
And then we have public comment here for Mayor. 1 minute. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, you should know other places are having 5 licenses. The South Robertson Neighborhood Council, they're going for 5, and you're only going for 2. Why, you little amateurs, you. So who should be assigned these licenses? Go puppet of points, Adam Sumner and Ira Gold. Because there's nothing better than having to host all the meetings all during the month. Randy enjoys it, but he wants to take some time off and walk his dog in the parking of that new park that there's no parking in. Yes. That's a good idea. That's right. Yes. And can you fund Richard Niederberg and buy him an extra catalytic converter? I think it's going to be a long, hot summer. He might need an extra one.
That's time. Thank you.
Thanks. Any board comment? Brandon.
Yes. These licenses, are they just for meetings, or are they webinar licenses? I mean, how flexible are they? Are they the same exact licenses we already have, where we can do a
Yes.
web? It's the same thing that we have right now. There's no lack of options. It's exactly what we're on right now. Correct?
Correct. The difference is how it is set up currently is that the license only allows for one person to access it. So for example, whoever's president, that email gets attached to that Zoom license. And so that's why I have to start every meeting, or I would give which I've done, Scott has my username and my password to also start meetings if I'm not able to start a meeting. By having two licenses, or as the caller just indicated, other neighborhood councils have opted for more, because then it allows for other board members to be able to start meetings and have access. So to me, 5 seems a bit excessive. I don't know that we need 5, but 2 seems reasonable. I suppose if you think we need more, we could add it, but I'll leave that up to the board. But yes, every Zoom license allows you to either set up a meeting or a webinar, and meetings can be converted to webinars, and webinars can be converted to meetings. The difference in that is that obviously is that a meeting, everyone is visible. A webinar, only if you're promoted to a panelist are you visible. Of course, anybody can be promoted to a panelist. Kim?
I assume that's a per year price, correct?
That is correct.
Can that be added in the wording as well to make that clear? Just at the end, the words per year, or wherever it fit exactly. I don't have it up on my screen.
Purchase 2 licenses for Zoom at a cost of $200 per license per year. Sure.
Great, thank you.
Karen?
Would it be like you and the vice president would share a password and then the chairs would share a password kind of thing? You don't know
We
yet.
could, I mean, it's kind of however we would want to set it up. So I'm sure that certainly is an option that makes sense, perhaps, or yeah. Or if it's Brandon and myself, or Scott and Brandon, or whoever it is, we can figure that part out. Any other board comment? Let's take it to a vote then.
Okay. Kim Clements.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh, I can't vote, actually.
No.
It's
Dean and Alexa still can't vote because they don't have their cornerstone training
Yes.
completed yet, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, this is a this is a budget.
Financial.
My apologies.
Yeah.
You will I guess it'd be abstain, right? Randall Freed.
Yes.
Ira Gold.
Yes.
Jeff Hartwick.
Yes.
Julie is still absent. Lisa Karajian.
Yes.
Scott Mandel.
Yes.
Brandon Moreno, yes. Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Karen Sorrow.
Yes.
Adam Summer.
Yes.
And Alexa cannot quite yet vote on this, so she'll abstain. Abigail Velasco. Motion passes.
Great. With that, everyone, 3 minutes before 9:30. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Be in touch.